dipped the brush into the small mound of white paint, then lightly touched the blue. Her movements were precise, almost a meditation. She needed the exact shade of the sky before a storm, a color she held in her memory and which was the heart of her new painting. The smell of oil and turpentine filled the small room that served as her studio, a scent that for her was synonymous with home. The canvas, almost finished, rested on the easel. It was her most important piece to date, selected for the group exhibition at the downtown gallery which would open that very night. The pressure was immense, but in that moment there was only her, the colors, and the canvas. "Brought some coffee for my favorite artist." Marcos's voice was smooth, velvety. He entered the studio holding 2 mugs, already dressed in his expensive suit, ready for a day at the office. He always looked impeccable, a contrast to Clara's paint-stained clothes. He kissed the top of her head and looked at the painting. "It's looking amazing, my love, truly." He paused, and Clara felt her stomach drop. She knew that pause. "Just one little thing. That dark corner, don't you think it's a bit heavy? Maybe a little more light there could make the piece more commercial, more sellable." The word sellable hit Clara like a bucket of cold water. She tried not to show it, forcing a smile. "That's the intention, Marcos. The shadow is important for the contrast." He shrugged, a gesture of someone just giving, an innocent suggestion. "Of course, honey. You're the artist. I just understand business, and I know people like happier things." He took a sip of his coffee. "Oh, I almost forgot. That tube of ultramarine blue you asked for, I couldn't find it. I went to 2 stores. It seems to be out of stock in the city." Clara's heart sank. It was the exact shade she needed for the final touches. Without it, the painting would look unfinished. "But, did you check the art supply store on the other side of town?" "They always have it," she said, her voice a thread. "Love, I didn't have time to cross the city for a tube of paint. I have important meetings. You'll figure something out. You're creative." He smiled, gave her another kiss, and left the studio, leaving her with cooling coffee and a growing sense of panic. Her creativity always seemed to be the solution for his convenience. Clara spent the next hour trying to recreate the shade of blue, mixing other colors, but nothing came close. Frustration began to take over, and Marcos's voice echoed in her head. "It's too heavy. People like happier things." She looked at the canvas, and suddenly, all she could see was the dark corner, the flaw he had pointed out. The phone rang, and the name on the screen made her smile for the first time that morning. Sofia, her best friend from college, who was passing through town and would visit her in the afternoon before they went to the exhibition together at night. She answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Hey, so good to hear your voice." Sofia, on the other end of the line, was pure energy. "I can't wait to see you, and to see this work of art of yours in person. Marcos sent me a picture. It looks incredible. He's your biggest fan, isn't he? Always posting about your talent." Clara swallowed hard. "Yes, he supports me a lot." The lie scratched at her throat. In reality, Marcos only posted photos of her paintings after he himself approved of them, usually the happier and more sellable ones. The pieces Clara loved the most, the deeper ones, never saw the light of his social media. After hanging up, Clara felt a pang of guilt. Sofia saw her as a successful artist with a partner who idolized her. That was the image Marcos had carefully constructed for the outside world. He was the successful businessman who supported his girlfriend's artistic career. No one saw the small daily criticisms, the control over the materials he bought, or the way he subtly isolated her from old friends with the excuse that they don't understand your dedication. He was the curator not just of her art, but of her life. She gave up on trying to fix the painting for now and started to tidy up the studio. While moving a stack of old canvases, she found her hidden sketchbook. It was a small, black-covered notebook that Marcos didn't know about. In it, she didn't draw landscapes or still lifes. She drew what she felt. Figures trapped in boxes, faces without mouths, hands that couldn't reach the light. They were quick charcoal sketches full of the darkness she wasn't allowed to put on her sellable canvases. She flipped through the pages, feeling a mix of relief and shame. This was her only truly free space. In the afternoon, Sofia arrived. The hug between them was long, filled with a longing that years of distance hadn't erased. Sofia entered the apartment and her gaze went straight to the studio. "Wow, Clara, "This is amazing," she said, walking directly to the Yao painting on the easel. She analyzed it in silence for a long time, with the eyes of someone who truly understood art, not just business. Clara held her breath, waiting for the critique, the suggestion to make it happier, lighter, but Sofia just turned to her eyes shining. "This is your best work, by far. The tension in that dark corner is brilliant." Sofia's words were like a balm. For the first time, someone saw the shadow not as a flaw, but as a point of strength. "You think so?" Clara asked, her voice choked with emotion. "I don't think so, I'm sure of it. It's bold, it's honest, it's the real you." Sofia then frowned. "But it looks like it needs a few touch-ups here in this blue." Clara sighed. "It does. Marcos couldn't find the shade I needed." Sofia gave her a strange look. "Really?" "Because I drove past that big art supply store near the highway, and their window display is full of a sale on imported paints. I'm almost certain I saw that blue there." The information landed, like a stone in Clara's stomach. Marcos had lied. He didn't say he didn't find it, he said it was out of stock in the city. The lie was small, almost insignificant, but it revealed a huge truth. He didn't want her to finish the painting the way she intended. He would rather it remain unfinished than see it completed in her original vision. Clara tried to hide her shock. "Oh, maybe it arrived today. He went yesterday." But the excuse sounded weak even to herself. Sofia seemed to notice. Something was wrong but didn't press. "Well, there's still time. We can run over there now, I'll drive you. I want to see this masterpiece perfect at the gallery tonight." Sofia's enthusiasm was contagious, but also frightening. Going against a decision, even an indirect one from Marcos, was something Clara hadn't done in a long time. He would accuse her of being impulsive, of not trusting him. But Sofia's supportive gaze and the memory of her hidden sketchbook gave her a small dose of courage. "Okay," she said, "let's go." At the art supply store, the shelf was, in fact, full of the ultramarine blue tube. Clara bought 3, a small act of rebellion. On the way back, Sofia started asking questions about college, about mutual friends, about the dreams they used to have. "Remember when you said you were going to live in a cabin and only paint what you felt, without caring what others thought?" Sofia asked with a nostalgic smile. Clara smiled back, but it was a sad smile. That girl felt like a person from another life. "Things change. You have to be realistic. Pay the bills," Clara replied, repeating the words Marcos always used. Sofia glanced at her from the driver's seat. "Realism is one thing, Clara. Ceasing to be who you are is another. I miss you, the real you." The comment was said with affection, without judgment, but it hit Clara hard. When they returned to the apartment, she felt different. The air seemed a little lighter, and the painting on the easel no longer seemed daunting. It seemed like a challenge she now wanted to conquer. With the new tube of paint in hand, Clara worked with renewed energy. Sofia sat on the living room sofa, giving her space, but her presence was a silent and powerful support. In less than an hour, the final touches were done. The deep blue gave the painting the dimension it was missing. The shadow was no longer heavy, it was magnetic. Clara stepped back, exhausted, but satisfied. The painting was complete. It was hers. Sofia came over and hugged her. "I knew you could do it. It's a masterpiece." It was at that moment that Marcos came home, earlier than expected. He walked into the studio and saw the finished painting. His expression changed instantly. The smile vanished, replaced by a tightness in his jaw. "You finished it," he said, his tone neutral, but his eyes sparking with disapproval. "How did you get the blue?" Clara felt a shiver of fear, but Sofia's presence beside her kept her steady. "Sofia took me to buy it. They had it at the highway store after all." Marcos shot a cold glare at Sofia, who held his gaze without flinching. "How nice that your friend solved the problem," Marcos said, irony dripping from his voice. "It turned out intense, just the way you wanted it." He turned to Clara. "Now let's get ready for tonight. You need to look beautiful to represent your work." The sentence was a command, a way to change the subject and reassert his control. As she got ready in the bedroom, Clara felt Marcos's stare even through the door. He was furious, not because she finished the painting, but because she did it without his permission, with the help of an outside force. In the bathroom, as she was applying her makeup, Sofia came in and closed the door. "Clara, I don't want to interfere," she began, her voice low and serious. "But the way he looked at you, and the story about the paint, that's not normal. He didn't lie because he forgot. He lied because he wanted to control you." Clara stopped applying her lipstick, her hands shaking. To hear someone say out loud what she only dared to draw in her secret sketchbook was terrifying and, at the same time, liberating. "He just wants what's best for me," she whispered, the excuse she repeated to herself every day. "No," Sofia replied firmly. "He wants what's best for him." The art gallery was crowded. Well-dressed people mingled with glasses of wine, talking in low voices. Clara's painting was on a feature wall and she couldn't help but feel a pang of pride. Beside her, Marcos acted as the perfect host. He greeted people, introduced Clara as "my talented girlfriend," and spoke about the painting with an ownership that irritated her. He described it in terms of the market, of investment, of potential appreciation. He didn't talk about the emotion, the technique, or the soul of the work. Many people stopped to compliment it. "Congratulations, it's a very powerful piece," said a local art critic. Clara thanked him, but before she could say more, Marcos would intervene. "Thank you. I always tell her not to be afraid of using bold colors. I was the one who encouraged her to explore these more dramatic contrasts. She's great at following directions." He would say it with a smile as if it were a joke, but Clara and Sofia knew he was serious. He was subtly taking credit for himself. Sofia stayed by Clara's side the whole time, a silent and protective presence. She watched every interaction, every forced smile from Clara, every possessive comment from Marcos. At one point, while Marcos was distracted talking to a potential buyer, Sofia leaned in to Clara. "You don't have to let him speak for you. The art is yours. The story is yours." The words echoed their conversation from the car earlier. "I know," Clara replied, "but it's complicated." A little later, the gallery owner, a gentleman named Arthur, approached the trio. He was a man Clara deeply respected. "Clara, my dear, your piece is the highlight of the evening. Absolutely fantastic. I'd like to know more about the inspiration behind it. What does that darkness in the corner represent to you?" The question was direct, personal. It was Clara's chance to talk about her art for real. She felt Marcos's gaze on her, a warning to give the right answer, the safe answer. Clara opened her mouth to give the rehearsed answer, something about the duality of nature, about light and shadow. But then she looked at Sofia, who gave her an encouraging smile. She took a deep breath. "The darkness," she began, her voice a bit unsteady at first, "represents the feeling of being trapped. It represents the things we cannot say, the creativity that is suffocated by fear or the expectations of others. It's about the struggle to find a light even when the world tells you that your darkness is a flaw, something that needs to be fixed or hidden." The honesty in her voice silenced everyone around them. Arthur, the gallery owner, looked at her with a new level of respect. Marcos, on the other hand, turned pale. This was not the story he had approved. He tried to intervene with a forced laugh. "Oh, she's so dramatic, a true artist. What she actually means is that it's a representation of the market's struggle, the search for a niche." But Clara interrupted him, something she had never done in public before. "No, Marcos, it's exactly what I meant." Her no was spoken quietly, but it echoed like thunder in the small group. Marcos's smile froze on his face. The confrontation was silent, but everyone felt the tension. Sofia took a subtle step closer to Clara, a gesture of solidarity. Arthur, the gallerist, looked from one to the other, his years of experience making him realize he was witnessing something much deeper than a simple artistic discussion. He turned to Clara, ignoring Marcos completely. "Fascinating. It's that honesty that makes the work so powerful. It's real." Marcos, realizing he had lost control of the narrative, tried one last gambit. He put his arm around Clara's shoulders in a gesture that seemed protective but was possessive. "She gets very emotional about her work. Sometimes she even forgets about our collaborative process. Many of my ideas about structure and composition are in there." The attempt to appropriate her work was so blatant that Sofia couldn't contain herself. "That's a lie," Sofia said, her voice clear and firm. "I saw Clara create. The art is all hers." Marcos's jaw dropped. "Being Contradicted by Clara was one thing. Being publicly called a liar by her friend was another. "And who are you to have an opinion?" he spat, abandoning any pretense of charm. "I'm her friend," Sofia replied, unintimidated. Her friend who knows she needed a specific blue that, coincidentally, you couldn't find in the city. Mentioning the paint tube in front of the gallery owner was a masterstroke. It was such a small detail, yet so revealing. Arthur looked at Marcos with contempt. Controlling? The materials? That's a pretty old tactic, isn't it? Marcos was speechless, his face red with anger and humiliation. He looked at Clara, expecting her to defend him, to say that Sofia was exaggerating. But Clara remained silent, her chin held high. Her silence was the strongest confirmation. Her refusal to save him from this situation was her first, true act of liberation. The facade of the perfect partner had completely shattered. Without a word, Marcos walked away from the group and out of the gallery, leaving a trail of shock and discomfort behind him. The small circle of people around Clara's painting dispersed, whispering. Sofia placed a hand on Clara's arm. "Are you okay?" Clara nodded, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, relief, sadness, and a strange new sense of lightness. She had faced the dragon and survived, not with a shout, but with the simple, powerful truth about her own art. Arthur, the gallery owner, waited for the dust to settle and approached again. "Clara," he said kindly, "I don't know the whole story and it's none of my business, but I know talent and courage when I see them. What happened here only made me admire your work even more." He paused, looking at the painting. "I'd like to offer you a solo exhibition next semester, for you to paint exactly what you want without anyone's collaboration." The offer was so unexpected, so monumental, that it took Clara's breath away. The tears Clara had been holding back finally rolled down her face. But they were not tears of sadness. They were of relief. A solo exhibition. It was her life's dream, a dream Marcos had always told her was unrealistic for now. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Say yes," Sofia whispered beside her, squeezing her hand. Clara looked at Arthur and nodded, a firm and decisive movement. "Yes, I accept. Thank you." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Sofia never left her side. They didn't talk about Marcos. They talked about art, future, about the college dreams that suddenly didn't seem so distant anymore. For the first time in years, Clara talked about her ideas without censoring herself, without fear of them being too heavy or not sellable. She felt as if she had just woken up from a long sleep, and the world, though scary, was full of new and vibrant colors. When they left the gallery, the night air was cold, but Clara felt warm inside. "Should we go home?" Sofia asked. The word home sounded strange. The apartment was no longer her home. It was Marcos's place, the place where her ideas were pruned and her feelings were drawn in secret. "I can't go back there," Clara said, the decision forming with surprising clarity. "Can I stay with you at your hotel tonight? I'll figure something out tomorrow." Sofia smiled. "Of course you can. You can stay as long as you need." In the hotel room, Clara borrowed a t-shirt from Sofia and sat on the bed. Her phone started ringing. It was Marcos, then a text, message, and another. She looked at the screen, at his name, and felt the old shiver of anxiety. The urge to answer, to apologize, to try to fix things was a conditioned reflex, but then she remembered his look in the gallery, the lie about the paint, the way he tried to steal her voice. With a decisive move, she turned off the device and put it in the nightstand drawer. "Do you have a notebook?" Clara asked Sofia. Her friend pulled a small notepad and a pen from her purse. Clara began to draw, but this time, it wasn't trapped figures or faceless mouths. She drew the scene from the gallery. A small woman, standing in front of a dark canvas, but with a beam of light emanating from her chest. Around her were friendly faces, and in the distance, a male figure walked away, dissolving into the darkness. It was a quick sketch, but it contained the entire story of that night. Sofia looked at the drawing over Clara's shoulder. "That's beautiful," she said. "That's your next painting?" Clara smiled. "Maybe." For the first time, the idea of painting something so personal, so raw, didn't scare her. What scared her was not painting it. She felt as if a door, long locked, had been broken down inside her. The creativity she had kept in her secret sketchbook could now overflow onto her canvases, without asking for permission, without seeking approval. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of birds outside the hotel window, not to the tense silence of the apartment. She felt light, as if she had taken off a heavy suit of armor she didn't even know she was wearing. Sofia was already awake, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Good morning, artist. Ready to conquer the world?" Clara laughed, a genuine, free sound that surprised her. "Ready to at least get my things." With Sofia waiting in the car, Clara used her key to enter the apartment. It was quiet and empty. Marcos wasn't there. She went straight to the studio and began to pack her paints, her brushes, her canvases. Lastly, she picked up her hidden sketchbook. She held it for a moment, thinking of all the hours of loneliness and fear those pages represented. It had been her only confidant. Now she didn't need it in the same way. She no longer needed to hide. As she was leaving, she saw the large painting that had been left in the living room, one of the happy and sellable ones that Marcos adored. On impulse, she grabbed a thick brush and with black paint, wrote a single word across the colorful landscape: free. It wasn't a work of art. It was a declaration, a final statement. She left the key on the table and walked out of that apartment for the last time, without looking back. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it was her road. In the car, with her boxes of art supplies in the back seat, Clara felt an immense peace. "Where to now?" Sofia asked. "To my new life," Clara answered, and they both laughed. They spent the rest of the day in a cafe with a laptop, searching for small apartments to rent near Arthur's gallery, a place of her own with a sunny room that could be her new studio, a place where no shadow would be considered too heavy. The gallery phone rang that afternoon. It was Clara, asking if she could pick up her painting. "Of course, my dear," said Arthur. "By the way, a collector who was here last night called this morning. He wants to buy it. Made an excellent offer." Clara was silent for a moment, processing the news. Her most honest work, the one Marcos had despised, was the one that had found a home. I'm not selling it," she said, surprising herself. "This one's for me, it's a reminder." Arthur, on the other end of the line, understood perfectly. A true artist's decision. It will be here waiting for you. Hanging up that call was another step in her journey of self-worth. Success wasn't in the price tag, but in the courage to create something true. Later, she and Sofia rented a small truck and, with Arthur's help, picked up the painting from the gallery. Carrying it out into the sunlight was a symbolic moment. It was no longer confined to a dark wall, nor defined by a man's opinion. It was in motion, just like its creator. That night, the 2 friends celebrated with pizza on the floor of Clara's new empty apartment. There was no furniture, only boxes of art supplies, the large painting leaning against the wall, and the feeling of a blank future, ready to be painted. "You know," Clara said, "for a long time I thought love was that. Someone who takes care of you, who makes the tough decisions so you can focus on your art. I thought his control was a form of care." Sofia listened attentively. "Love doesn't make you smaller so the other person can seem bigger, Clara. Love gives you room to grow even if your growth takes you far away." Clara looked at her painting. The darkness in the corner no longer seemed scary. It looked like a part of her story, a part that made her stronger. She understood that her most powerful art was born not in spite of her pain, but through it. And now she was ready to paint the light. The following months were a period of intense work. Clara dedicated herself to her solo exhibition with a passion she hadn't felt in years. She painted from dawn till dusk, not out of pressure, but out of pure joy. Her new studio was bathed in sunlight, and her new canvases were bold, full of colors and shadows, of truth she was no longer afraid to tell. Sofia visited on weekends, bringing food and encouragement. Their rediscovered friendship was the solid foundation upon which Clara was rebuilding her life. She never heard from Marcos again. She heard through the grapevine that he had moved to another city, probably in search of a new artist to support. The news caused her no pain, no anger, just a quiet indifference. He was no longer part of her story. Her story was now told in broad strokes, in vibrant hues, on the walls of her own studio. She was too busy living to worry. about the ghosts of the past. The opening night of her solo exhibition was completely different from the last one. The gallery was even more crowded, but this time the energy was one of celebration. The walls were covered with her works, each telling a piece of her journey from darkness to light. Clara, wearing paint-stained overalls, her uniform of work and power, walked among the guests, talking about her paintings with confidence and passion. She didn't need anyone to speak for her. Sofia was there, radiant, as was Arthur, who looked at her with the pride of a mentor. At the end of the night, when most of the people had left, Clara stood in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by her work. Each painting was a milestone of her liberation. The painting from the night of the fight, which she called The End of Silence, had a small red sticker next to it. It had been the first to sell. Looking at her creations, Clara thought about the day Sofia had visited, a day that began with the frustration of a tube of paint and ended with the promise of a new life. It was the day a small lie revealed a giant truth. It was the day she realized that her voice, which she thought was weak and insignificant, had the power to change her destiny. It was proof that the truest art is not that which pleases everyone, but that which frees the artist. That day was not just the end of a toxic relationship. It was the beginning of herself. It was the moment the painter and the painting became one, brave, honest, and finally, free. And that feeling she knew was her greatest masterpiece, a work she would continue to paint every day, with all the colors she could find.